Hello everybody. Time to make the layouts, and we're going to be working with the Cherish layouts. Hopefully you've got all your materials together that were on the list to get started, okay? Make sure you have your instructions. We're going to get going on that. I'm going to do the cutting with you this time. This is not something I'll do every time or that Valerie will do every time. This one was just on one piece. There's a little bit more complicated, so I thought I'd just go ahead and do the cutting. So we're gonna get right on that. Zip strips are first, of course, so make sure you grab all of your pattern papers. I'm gonna set these pieces aside for the moment and get those zip strips cut off. Now, I find, you know, every single trimmer is different. So you need to, when you're cutting these zip strips, you need to find the center point on your trimmer where it's cutting. And that's what I'm always looking for. So I can kind of see on this type of trimmer. I have had such problems with trimmers over the years, not ever finding one that worked just perfectly for me. And I still, have the issues with some of them, but this one has been the best so far. My one problem with my table here is that it must have some little bit of a dip in it, because even though I've got my favorite trimmer here, a lot of times I have to go over it twice because it's somehow not lying flat on there. So if you're having that same trouble, now you know what the problem probably is. So I've got to press a little bit harder to overcome that little dip in the table that I feel like I'm having there. Annoying. But I don't have a lot of choices here in my apartment because I don't have a permanent table in here. I could do it up on my kitchen bar, but then I would have to be standing, and that's a little rough on my back. So I have a fold-out table that I am able to put away quickly when guests come and stuff. So, you work with what you have, right? All right, once you get your zip strips together, look at your directions. And we're probably going to have to cut some of these, if I recall. All right, so the big, diamond-shaped one is going to be left at 12 by half an inch. I'm just checking to make sure my camera's on. Okay, and now the blue one, or whatever you want to call that, maybe a gray, is going to be 8.5 by a half an inch. So we already know the zip strips are a half an inch. So I'm just going to stick these two together, cut them both at once since they're the same. So 8.5. And that should be pretty easy. And then scraps for cards later or something else. And then the yellow one, you're just cutting one of them. So one of them will be a scrap. And then you're gonna cut the other one at 6. And then you'll have 2 of those pieces at 6 by a half an inch. And then save those. So now what I'm gonna go do is take these are for page 1, and these, the rest of them are all page 3. So I'm just gonna go put those in my pile, because if you do nice little piles, for one for each layout, and put all the pieces, including the punch outs and your photo placeholders or your photos or your flip-flaps, all that stuff, put it on the pile that it goes with. It's gonna be so much easier when you're putting these all together. So I'm gonna go stick these in. All right, now next we're gonna start cutting some of this paper. And the first up, you're gonna need your floral paper here. I hope I don't get too annoyed with this table while we're doing this. All right, so it's this piece right here. And there's no orientation on it because it's the same on both sides where every flower is all over the place. So this is gonna be 6 by 12. And this is gonna be for layout 1. Get those set aside. Next is going to be the back of that same paper on the next one. And we're gonna do 1 by 12 2 times. Now remember, on close to my heart, if it has a little asterisk by it, that means you're gonna turn it over and use the back side. But on this one, we're using the front side for the whole thing, which is nice. Gonna have to press hard. Oh my gosh, I hate this table. I gotta really have to think about what I can do to either make this more level or get a new table that works better. Gosh, see, there's my problem right there. So if this happens to you, you can keep trying to do it on your trimmer, or sometimes I just get a little impatient and I would just cut it myself because it's already made a really nice score line there for me. All right, let me see if I move this a little bit, if that helps. All right, next one is 1.5 by 9. So I'm gonna turn it to the longer side first, get that 9 out of the way. And then, oh my gosh, it's gonna drive me crazy this whole time. Just gonna have to go over it several times. Now turn it back. Now you've got the 9-inch side up and you're going 1.5. I can still feel it not cutting. I'm gonna see what I can do, and I'm gonna come back to you guys. I'm gonna see if I move to a different spot on the table, whether that helps. Okay, I'm moved to the left-hand side of the table. You know, the funny thing is too, is that I've used this table at home, at my house, and I haven't had this trouble, so not sure what it is. But this feels like it's a little more lifted, so hopefully that will help. Okay, so 1.5 by 9, so working on. And it does cut a little bit better, so I'm just gonna, I guess, stay away from the right-hand side of the table. Okay, so the long ones that I cut first, did we already move? That's for number 1, and these 2 are for number 3, layout number 3. And now we're going to set aside the rest for scraps. That's a big size scrap, so that's gonna make a nice card. And this is the more complicated paper. So that's kind of what I wanted to do this with you guys this time, because this is, you know, they've got you cutting these strips and there's a lot of them. So let's just take it from the top. And the first one is 3D, and it's 8.5 by 1 1/8. And what it is this piece. So this is gonna be your top. So it's gonna be this piece. And don't look for perfection on these, okay? Because, you know, just get it the best you can. So we're gonna go in 1 1/8 and cut the long way there first, and then we'll trim that one. So 1 1/8. Yeah, that is cutting better. And then 8 1/2. I hope I'm seeing in camera for you. All right, so that now goes on number 3. Number 3. Okay, next is gonna be this really skinny little stitched, faux stitched line. And what I did was I just left a little bit of a border. But let me see what they want us to do. They want us to do 3/16. So there's an 1/8 and then one more little tiny line over. Let me get this out of the way. Let's see. So there's my 1/8 and then one more line, I believe would be the 3/16. So I can see by looking at this that there's barely any white on it, but I put white. I had a little bit of white because it's so skinny that I just kind of let it have just the slightest white border. So hold that steady because it's going to be really skinny in your trimmer there. So, oh, it really went off a little bit slightly. So here's what it looks like. So one of the options, first of all, I know I'm going to trim because I got a little bit whiter on the top. But another way to do this one is just to go ahead and cut it with scissors too, if you have trouble with your trimmer like I just did. So I am gonna at least cut off one side here, right close to, because my trimmer cut so close, I'm gonna cut it right close to the actual print of the picture here. And I may leave the other side, we'll see. So here's what I'll do once I make the other one, because we're gonna be cutting another one down at the bottom. So I'll probably, I'm just gonna set this aside first. And then when I cut the one at the bottom, we'll see how well I cut it. If I don't cut it well, then I'll just take my scissors and I'll cut that white piece off totally and just get it really, really close to the stitched photo there. All right, next is, we're gonna skip this line and we're going to the floral line. See, I told you this is a little tricky. So that floral line is gonna be 6 by, oh, and one more thing I needed to do on this is cut this. Before we go on to that, this is it's supposed to be 10 1/4. So before I forget, because I think that I forgot the first time when I made these layouts the first time around, I am gonna cut that to 10 1/4. And then we'll set it aside and make sure it matches the last one. So on the second one now, we're skipping this one and we're gonna cut 6 by 3 1/4 on this floral line. So that basically means that probably this whole thing is about 3/4 of an inch long. Yep. So all you have to do is just take your trimmer, line it up on each side of this, and cut right up at the line, right to the green. So you don't really even have to measure on that part. Just cut right straight to the green around those flowers. And this is where a good trimmer really comes in handy, where you can actually see where you're cutting. I'm gonna move this over a little bit to that 3/4 line, although I'm just really eyeballing it. Okay, and get that real close to the green, just like that. And then that one's going to also be trimmed down to a 6 inch and a 5 inch piece. So 6 inch first, and then 5 inches. And these pieces go to layout 3. Okay, now we're at the next line. That's that, the ivy, or whatever they want to call that. And that's going to be 9 inches long, but 1/2 inch wide. So if I took my ruler again, I would see that this is already at 1/2 inch. So all we have to do is cut it along the white edge there. And about like that. I'm gonna cut it. And then this one is going to be cut at 9 inches. Trying to stay in camera. And this piece goes to layout 3. So layout 3 is going to have a lot of these. All right, next. Now I left a little white edge because I wanted to try to fit it in that 1/2 inch measurement, and they had just the slightest bit outside of the 1/2 inch. So the next piece is going to be this. So first I'm going to turn it this way and get off that little bit of white, because it was just a little bit more than that 1/2 inch there. And flip it back around and go 1 1/4 in, which should take you to the edge of the gray floral. And then you're going to turn that and go to 7. If I go too fast, then just pause. Pause the video, get caught up. Okay, that's going to layout 3. Next up is going to be this little skinny line here. And this one's green, not gray. And that's also going to be at the 3/16 mark. So I've got a little bit of an edge here that I'm going to take off. Now I'm first just going to go, I'm going to leave a little bit of white edge, I think. Or maybe, you know, on this green one, I think I'll try to cut close to the green. And with the gray one that I did first, I will probably leave that with a little bit of white edge. But on this one, I think I'm just going to cut as close to the actual green part as I can, because I have a lot of room here to do that. And then I'm going to move it over and cut the other side as close as I can to the green. And I'm just gonna kind of pull that out, line it up, get it close. All right, and then that is going to be trimmed, nope, it stays at 12. So this is for layout number 1. Okay, let's see what we got next. I think they've left, oh, I see, we're gonna flip over. So flip it over because they've got the little star on it. Now I want you to be very careful because I made a mistake the first time. We need to make sure that this is still upright and that you're gonna be able to cut these bottom parts. So let me make sure it matches. Yep, so like this, okay. So if you look on your paper, you're gonna see this. This is where I messed up before. So that 3B you see and 3Q need to be matching with this. So that needs to be the green floral and then the vine. So that's not what you want to cut. So when you flip this over to cut the other side, or even if you don't want to do that and don't want to flip it over, it's okay. You're just going to have a little bit of a funny edge. But let's do it the right way. So make sure when you flip this over that that green floral here is on the right hand side. And then push this in to 3 inches. It must be the day when they do the alarms in town, the emergency alarms. Usually that's done on a Saturday, but I hear them going off. Can you hear them? 3 inches. And we're gonna keep that at 12, and that's gonna be for layout 2. Now flip it back over. And we're gonna go all the way down till we get to that green floral and cut off the left edge, right at the edge of the green floral. And the left-hand side should be able to go to scrap. And then flip this around, and you're gonna go in 1 1/4 inches, which should take you to the other edge of the green floral. And then just cut that. Okay, mine's slightly off a little bit, but that's okay. 9 1/2 inches long. Can you hear the alarms? Hopefully we'll never have to have that alarm go off. No tornadoes or anything. All right, 9 1/2. And this is going on layout 3. Now we've got left, we have the vine and then the skinny gray one that matches the first one. So I'm gonna really recommend, because the gray is so skinny, that you cut that first while you still have a little bit of something to grip onto. So go, and remember on that first one, we left a little white edge on one side. So I'm gonna try to do that again. And move that just to match my first piece. And I'm gonna hold this down here steady. We'll see if it cuts it. Not too bad. That's just the slightest bit of white edge there. It's not quite as wide as I had there. So remember I said that if it wasn't cutting right, I was probably not gonna do it. So see how the right-hand side is got much more edge than this one that I just cut. So I may cut that with scissors first, and then we'll try it one more time. But you can cut it directly to the little piece. It's not that hard to cut along this line. And just make sure it actually hits that gray as you're cutting. But because I still have a little edge on that piece, I'm gonna try one more time and see if I can use another little white edge. So I'm looking to do this right here, that little white edge. So I have just one more chance. If not, I'll cut both of them all the way to the end. All right, try one more time here. All right, that's pretty close. So now you can see these really match. And I just have to trim this one down to the right length, but those match. So the length was 10 1/4. Go back and do that. And then that piece is now ready for layout 3. So I'll stick those over on layout 3. And the only thing we have left on this particular one is this vine, which is going to be, make sure that it's at a 1/2 inch. I think it should be on yours now. It should match about a 1/2 inch. Mine does. And then 9 inches long. Get this piece out of here. All right. And that goes also on layout 3. Now, if you want to, and if you feel like you might be having trouble knowing which where everything's going to go, the reason that they have, and I'm going to just say this for people who haven't done it before, the reason they have the letter and the number is that the number is for which layout it is, but the letter is for what order it goes in. So if you want to make sure that you're putting these in the exact order and don't want to just look at it on the page or follow along with me, 2A would go first on a page, 2B then is second, then 2C, and so on. So you can always mark on the back of your little pieces in pencil what layout they're on and what order it's going in, 2B, 3A, whatever, okay? So that's a little hint you can use on that. All right, now we got one more of those pages, not so hard this time. And we will have one where we flip it around. So let's get that page again. And again, we're gonna do the this vine at the top. And that is going to be 8.5 by 1 1/8. So just go right off the side here, 1 1/8. Just like we did before. And then it's going to be 8.5. And this is going to go on layout 3. Okay, flip. I want you to keep that green floral on the right hand side this time. Flip your paper and go in 3 inches. And this will be for layout 2. And that's 3 by 2. Now flip it back. This time we're gonna be shooting for this green stitched line. And this time I'm gonna try to cut it right directly on the green so that there's no white border at all. Because this is going to another layout, or let me see. Yeah, so nope, this is going to layout 1 where we cut it right to the edge before. And this will be a 12-incher. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna try this on my trimmer. I could have done the left side first, that would have been smarter, but I think I can get this in. Okay, did it. All right, so that goes on layout 1, and that should match whatever you got on layout 1 for the other one. Now, we only have one thing left, yay! So we're going down to that pretty green floral again. Let's just cut off the right-hand side of it, so go right to the edge, like that, and then flip it around, and 1 1/4 inches in. Like that, and then 9.5, and we're done with the hard part, yay. All right, so all the rest of that stuff is scraps to make cards. And if you looked at my video on color and shape, or I think I did put it there, I made a bunch of cards with the scraps from this very thing. So you can take a look at them because you should have mostly the same scraps as I do. This goes to layout 3. All right, next page. Missed cardstock. Let me find out which one is missed here. I'll tell you, when they give us all these new colors, it takes me forever to actually learn which one is which. So, let me get these out here. We'll grab them. And we'll continue on. Grab your missed cardstock. I think there's three pieces of that in here. This will be plenty for us. And this is going to be quite easy. Use the dark side, 3 3/4. We got past the worst already on that one page. 3 3/4 by 12, and then do it again, 3 3/4. And then the last, and those are going to both be for layout 2. And then the last one is going to be 4 1/2, which it should already be. I just have just a little bit excess there. Trim that off. And then 10 by 10. And that's for layout 1. Save the scraps. Next is missed cardstock again, dark side. You're going to put it in, do 6 1/4 all the way down, then turn it, 4 1/4. These are making mats, and 4 1/4 again. And these are for layout 1. And then the last part, I'm going to go 3 1/4 and 4 1/4. And that's for layout 3. Grab the rest of it, and it's going to be 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I check and make sure I'm recording. Yes, good. And that's going to be layout 3. And then the last little bit's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Cutting much better on this side of the table, that's for sure. All right, and that's for layout 1. Move your scraps out of the way. Get your next piece of missed paper. Again, we're doing the dark side. We're gonna go 4 1/4 all the way down. Turn it and go 6 1/4. That's for layout 3. And then 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Just like that, and that's layout 1. Throw those scraps in the pile, and then you've got the big section left. And that is going to be 3 1/4 all the way down, and 3 1/4 2 more times. And that. Okay. These go to layout 3. Now, we are going to be cutting some Picture My Life cards, but it's not it's very little cutting on those. So what I want you to do is just bring your trimmer to when we start doing the actual layouts. So you're going to need to cut, do a little cutting while we do that. But we'll do that while we're doing the actual layouts and putting those together. So next is mink cardstock. We're going to also do dark side, so I just looked to compare. And it's going to be 3 1/4 all the way down. Turn it and go 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then one more time by 3 1/4. So the first two, or actually, yep, all of these are going on 2. So layout 2. And then take the rest of your paper. You're gonna go 4 1/4 all the way down. And then turn it. And 6 1/4. And 3 1/4. And those both go on layout 2. All right, next page. We've got the French vanilla cardstock. And that's gonna be 2 inches all the way down, and that goes to layout 1. And then the next one, you're going to go 4 1/8 all the way down, turn it, and do 3 1/8 3 times. 3 1/8, 3 1/8, and 3 1/8. Those top 3 are going to layout 1. Scrap. Last little bit, you're gonna go to 3 and go all the way down on that, and then turn to 7 1/4, which is right about there. That's gonna go to layout 1. And then the last one's gonna be 3 by 1 3/4. So it's already cut at 3. So then I hope I'm staying in camera. 1 3/4. And that goes to layout 3. And then this is scrap. And we are done with that cutting. Remember, you're gonna need to do the PML cutting with us later. All right. Now the next thing I do is to start to gather the rest of the items. So on layout 1, it says use sage diagonal stripe paper for base page. And that is this paper here. This is what it looks like on the back. So those two go put in your layout 1 pile. And let's look and see what we have for layout 2. Layout 2 is the exclusive Seabrook floral paper for the base, and that is this. You're gonna need 2 sheets of this for layout 2. And then layout 3 will be Seabrook diamond paper. So that is, I guess this. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's kind of really light. Looks different on my on that page. So let me check my original. Oh yeah, it's because we're gonna do that big frame. So yep, so there you go. So that's for layout 3. So get those in there. And then you also want to go through all of your little pieces here. Get those into the right places too. Now they are not labeled. So it looks like you're gonna have to look at each section and get those to the right pieces. So the best way to do that, and I'm not gonna go through these with you, I don't think. At this point, you can look at your own layouts to see what's going on each one. So let me see. So you've got all of these. Yeah, I think a lot of these things in the middle are gonna go to individual ones. So yeah, you're gonna go through and pick these out by looking at the layouts. And don't worry if you get confused or whatever, because once we start making these layouts, you'll see. So another option for you for some of the smaller pieces like these, this is what I did actually. So I took out the big circle because I knew that that was gonna go to one of the layouts, can't remember which one now. And then I took out all these little leaves and I just put them in a pile, and then I just grabbed them when I was ready for the layouts. So you can do that, but you can also look at your photos, and most of it I thought was pretty simple to tell which ones go where. So you've just got those leaves, then you've got these 3 pieces. One of them you're gonna use as a stencil and then throw away. One of them you're gonna cut in half and the other one will maintain. And then you've got that outside wreath again. And then these 2, I think, are for both for layout 3, so that's super easy. So really, you're not gonna have to do much sorting on that. And then we've got this piece. Again, I made a pile for these and then just took them as I needed them, or as I kind of was doing the grouping. So again, not very hard, not very much there. And then you've got these 2 little pieces to punch out. So punch them out. You could like put all the hearts in a pile together if you wanted to, or you can look on the layouts and do them. And then we're just gonna grab these as we go once we start making the layouts. Up next in step 2 is going to be doing some of the texture paste. And we're gonna do that on the stickers. And so that comes next in step 2.